All right. Good evening, my friends. We are back for another open court discussion in the Counselor's Corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor. Joining me is my co host, Herb Lewis, the Big Bad Wolf. Oh, that wolf got harmony today. This might be, I don't know what this subject gonna bring. But not sure who will step up to join the panel, but I am certain somebody will. Recap from this past Monday's broadcast: are men capping to have sex, or are women just being delusional? Go back and check out the replay on the YouTube from the Controversial Counselors channel, and make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell for updated content when posted. Okay, Thanksgiving may be over, but it's time to cook and feast on tonight, November 27th. Topic, and the topic will be mothers' manipulation of their sons. And boy, a lot of people wasn't too content about the title of this show. They didn't like that word manipulation. But we're gonna go on. Let me finish reading this introduction. This topic came from the infamous Andre Hill in the Counselor's Corner. He posted a photo of the Chicago Bulls point guard Kobe White, where he was asked, what did he do with his first NBA paycheck? And he stated, I retired my mom and I bought her a house. Sounds like a sweet gesture, right? Well, according to Andre, he captioned this photo by saying, it's not your son's job to provide what your husband should have done. Mm. That was deep. That was a deep thought right there. So all hell broke out after that. Here are some of the comments that were dropped, and I would like to take this topic and comments deeper. Number one, someone said, sounds like a hater. If your kids don't love you, just say your kids don't love you. Number two, I have no love for sons, husbands, or mamas, boys. Number three, your father must not have been in your life. Number four, no one will look at this as a financial irresponsibility, financial abuse, or manipulation on behalf of the mother. And number five, when you have parents that sacrifice for you, that's what they do. My son has said on multiple occasions he would do that for me, and he has a father at home. We have no idea what this woman has done for him and the sacrifices that were made. Number six. Now this was interesting one because this came from a dad of a former NBA player and still international player, um, local guy. Well, he's from Niagara Falls, New York, but been living in Atlanta for a while. They moved since they was a childhood, and I would like to say if he would have stayed in Niagara Falls, he would have been probably one of the greatest athletes that ever came out of Niagara Falls. Shout out to John Adams. He said, let me see, okay. I speak from experience of raising, coaching, and training my son, who became a first round NBA draft pick in 2014. He always wanted to do things for me as a sign of his gratitude for me, always making sacrifices for him. But I would not let him. I didn't need a reward for being a good father. He treated his mother the same way. Even though he was in the NBA, he was still on my cell phone plan and car insurance for a while. Just just like when he was in college at UCLA. To each his own. It's their business what they want to do with their money. People tend to want to have opinions on how others spend their cheddar. Craziest shit ever. So, okay, the grill is lit. Please tune in as we discuss the different opinions that were thrown out there. Please like and share our video, and each one of you tell one person to subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. We are sitting at, I think it's about 767 subs. Pull your finger off the forks, and this was like during Thanksgiving time, and hit the button to subscribe. So, all right, here we are. Happy Monday to everyone. I hope everybody's day went well. My day was busy, productive, but Always entertaining. Always entertaining. Big Bad Wolf, what's going on with
Man, I didn't do a whole lot today. I went and picked up some things from the grocery store, and had to stop by the library to renew my library card. I've been a absent member for a couple of years, and every so often they purge the rolls, so I have to go back there with some metered mail to show that I'm still a resident at this here address. So, bumped into a couple of childhood friends. Shout out to Chris Cross, his family, and everybody else. I hope you are taking advice of what we said last week about checking in with your friends and family members. An older brother of mine, literally, you know, Thanksgiving night informed me that one of his really, really good friends, had transitioned. So people, and it's real. Your health is paramount. Your health is your wealth. Please take care of yourself. Like we always reiterate on this show. Check in on your friends, your family members. Do it often. Do it consistently. I don't care if you have to call or drop a text. Check in, see how they're doing. You know, we're not guaranteed tomorrow, no matter what your age is. So just keep that in mind. But man, I got no complaints, man. Other than oh hell, I got no complaints. Michigan kicking ass, Dallas is sailing. I do. The Sabres aren't playing well. But is that really a complaint? Or is that just more an observation of what's going on? Life is life, man. I'm good. Could go for another to making me happy, but hey, I don't have a butler at my disposal. My cat's not gonna do
you? Go ahead, knock yourself out.
it. I ain't gotta work tonight or tomorrow,
Mm,
so hey, I'm good.
so speaking of the health, and I got busy today and I forgot to make this phone call. I got to do better with that. But it was time for me to have another one of those CT cardiac scans, just to scan the heart, see what's going on with it. No, no major precautions, but you get older, you want to get a good look at your heart, and so I went to do that on, I think it was Saturday, but for some reason, they said that um, well, they're gonna have to do it over because your heart rate's supposed to be like at around 60 something the whole time, and mine's would go down to 60 something, then it would elevate to like 90. So it just kept doing that, and I don't know if it could have been like nervousness or just the thought like, okay, I hope this thing goes well, cause and just being under that device or that
Yeah,
contraption.
man,
So
it
you
is not
sitting there
comfortable.
like, okay, and got your arms raised up and like, okay, I just want this to be over with to get the results. So needless to say, they gotta I need to call my primary to see
Let you
what's
know.
going on so that I can do it over again, and hopefully my rate will be, you know, at the level to be able to so they can scan it, because typically your heart rate is from 60 to 90 something, but for this particular test it has to be like at 60 something. So that's where it's at, man. So these, as you get older, these things, you just gotta have tremendous, you gotta have follow up, and I slipped up today, so I have to make that call tomorrow so I can stay on top of that. But
Yeah.
tonight we got something in store as far as the subject matter: mothers' manipulation of their sons. So, Herb, when you think of that statement, what does that really mean? How are mothers manipulating their sons? Why is this happening?
We I want to make sure that when I start to walk into the forest and I leave some breadcrumbs that I'm able to get back out, because there's gonna be a lot of uh consternation and disharmony when we start to talk about this particular topic, because it's sensitive, and we've already seen how sensitive topics go with us and other panel members, when we talk about what single mothers do. But this is something that a lot of people really either they're desensitized to, or they really don't pay attention to it. because they say you're supposed to do things for your parents. Says who? You know, when I was raised and I was a kid, the only thing you were supposed to do was good grades and behave. Going out and buying things for your mother and or your father or your parents, that was a luxury, you know, that wasn't afforded to people that looked like us primarily. You know, and it wasn't, I mean, let's face it, you know, rock star athletes pulling in multi-million dollar contracts for multi-years is a recent phenomena in sports. For people that don't realize, Larry Bird was I believe was the first $1 million contract. I could be incorrect with that, but I do believe it was Larry Bird because they came up with the Bird exemption so he could actually resign with the Celtics. That goes back into sports and contracts, and I won't necessarily get involved in that. But we're talking less than 30 years. You know, there was once upon a time where professional athletes had to work in the off season to make ends meet. So it wasn't as always if athletes were in a position to do quote unquote right by the parents and going out and buying them things. It's only in this iteration of athletes and single mothers with the sons feeling like they have to go out and do something for their parents to show them their gratitude. And I've always said on this platform, and I'm going to maintain it, being a parent is not a job. I'll say it again. Being a parent is not a job. It is a responsibility. No child that I am aware of, now, past, or future, will ask to be born. You have two adults, whether they're responsible or irresponsible, making an adult decision to engage in intercourse to produce a child. That has nothing to do with the child yet to be born. That has everything to do with the people involved. If those people involved have not taken the proper steps to plan for that child, health, welfare, and financial responsibilities, then those adults have failed that child. It's not up to the child to impress the parents unless it comes to doing academically well. You know, we're fortunate enough to you know, especially yourself having played with them, and I grew up with them. You know, we're fortunate enough to see high caliber athletes go on to play Division I sports. We've been benefited by the Starks family to have a player play professional sports and go on to win a Super Bowl. So we see these things in real time. You know, it's not as if the residents of Niagara Falls who are cued into that family don't know about this stuff. So some of us have a little bit more better perspective on these things than some. And it's like the gentleman said, like you mentioned, Mr. Adams, he wouldn't allow his son to do that. Why? Because he's a responsible adult male. Him and his wife, like I just said, they planned for a child and made sure that that child had all the things necessary to become a productive adult, whether he became a doctor, lawyer, or athlete. It doesn't matter. They made sure he had what he needed to become a productive adult. And with a single mother, she cannot do that. Even a single father can't do that. But we're speaking of single mothers, so I'm just going to stay right there. It's not possible for her to produce a man of that caliber. She just doesn't have the necessary tools. Now, that's not to say that she can't go out and put that child in contact with an individual who does. We've always encouraged that. But the problem is they want to wait till that child gets to be too old to get that child the proper instruction that that child needs. And then start to implant in that young boy when he's about 6, 7, 8, that you're the man of the house, that you're going to need to go out and do this, that you're going to need to go out and do that. I'm going to need you to do this. That's where the manipulation starts. It puts that boy in a frame of mind to where he has to get out, hustle, make some money, and bring back so he can help support his mother. Hip hop rap fans, I'm sure you're familiar with KRS-One, and I'm sure some of you are familiar with the song 13 and Good. 13 and Good chronicles that. So when we talk about the manipulation of sons, it isn't necessarily overt, but it's there.
That's a lot of pressure to put on a child, and I always believe you got to let kids be kids, and always tell always say that as a kid when you turn 18, hopefully you sign up for that extension to maybe go on to college 4 more years or do something constructive. Now it's been a lot of stuff going around post, and it was even in the counselor's corner that about putting kids out at 18 and saying that that that's what you should do. And I think even one person made reference like where you could tell that in regards to what some I think it was some a woman that commented. He was like, well, you could tell you mustn't have a father in your household because I don't see nothing wrong with that. And me putting a kid out at 18 again to do what? To do what in this world? What are they equipped to do? What skill set um, do they have? And we're always gonna go back with the biological research saying that the human brain isn't developed till you're like 25, and that has a lot to do with the decision making process. So at 18, I just don't see too many kids cut to do. I know at 18, shit, I don't know. I couldn't have went nowhere unless I would have got with some old ass lady that would have took care of me at 18. So that argument, people need to stop thinking that because you hear adults say, "Oh, I can't. Oh, they can't turn 18 soon enough so they could get the hell out of my house." Where they going? If you put them out too early when they ain't ready, what you're gonna find out is at 30 they'll be coming back and forth. At 40 they'll still be coming back and forth. But if you give them that time to figure it out, and they say, "I think I'm ready," and they get enough schooling or trade or something, or then they may never come back to the point that you say, "Damn, they don't even come home for Thanksgiving. They don't even come around on Christmas because they doing their own thing." And I think that's how it has to be. But many of us haven't been kind of raised or brought up that way. So for that argument to think somebody's 18 and they're the man or they're a woman and they're ready for it, I have a hard time believing it. If you could tell me that one person that's 18 that can do it, even if it was somebody that ran into a lot of money, inherited a lot of money, they probably would get manipulated by others and end up their whole stash should be gone after a while. I just don't see it.
Yeah, you know what? And while you were speaking, what you said brought up an old school song. Some people may not even know who Cat Stevens is. He wrote for John, I believe John Denver wrote some songs he's saying. One of those songs was Cats in the Cradle. And it chronicles a father giving birth to his son and his son's ascension through manhood. If you've never listened to the song, I would encourage you to listen and apply that song and the lyrics to that song to what we're talking about. Now, to your point, I was put out at 16. I pretty much was responsible for myself. Um, from that period on. Now, I did go back to my mother's house. I can't say I escaped foster care because that's not really the proper terminology. I left foster care and came back home to stay with my mother. Put myself through high school, through college, to the point of where I am today. Now, with that said, the foster homes that I was in prior gave me a lot of information and a lot of structure to which if I didn't have, there's no way in the world that I would have been able to have made it to where I am today. Okay, so I always tell people, what I've accomplished is not of my own, my own doing. I stand on the shoulders of people that have come before me, and I've always said this, and I post this publicly on Facebook. My success is a shared success. The people that have come to help me when I needed help, the people who have given me information, the people who have taken me in, the people who even changed my soiled diapers when I was a kid. All those people share my success, although most of them are not with me nowadays. They they're in these walls, they're in this furniture. So, but it's true what you say. The average 18-year-old, especially with today's generation, they do not have the cognitive, the emotional, the financial ability to make it. I mean, that may come across as a surprise to some people, but if you go, to where a lot of these people work, they don't function well. And I don't know if that's due to, you know, the public education system, and homeschooling is something we'll get into on this platform some other time. But the educational system, um, the makeup of the home, the makeup of the community, there is so much that goes into, you know, a productive child, not to mention a productive child that can get out into the world with full grown adults who had 20, 30 years experience and maintain with them. And we shouldn't expect that. There is no way in the world in any iteration of anything that we should expect somebody that's 19, 20, 21, 22 to be able to match chops with somebody that's 32, 42, or even 52. That's an unfair battle. And that's a lot of what we do. You figure if an adult gets out of high school, 17, 18, what options do they really have? Military, that's one. College, that's two. Trade school, that's three. Now, you have a lot of people that say, look, most of these kids cannot do those things. Most of those kids, if you put them on their own, they're not going to be able to maintain because they've never been raised in that manner to have that structure, to have that skill set. So you say, well, what do you do? That's the problem that a lot of these adults are running into is they're not preparing these kids for the real world. They're not giving them the skill sets that they need. They're not raising them to be emotionally secure. And I'm not saying it's easy because I know people will say, well, he doesn't have any kids, so what he's talking about. I told you, I've come up the hard way. High school dropout, didn't finish college, but through it all, I've always managed to move forward. And that's not easy to teach. And as a woman, and at least in Western culture, particularly in the United States of America, if a female has a setback, society is a safety net for her. It's not so for men. And I know people are going to argue that. And to that, I will ask, who makes up the largest segment of homeless people in this country? And I'll let Dave step in before I provide the answer to that question.
Well, I'm going to read, I think it's Pastor or Reverend Kevin Jones Sr. He said, have we or you made sure that the child is empowered,
Mm-hmm.
cultivated, and able
Mm-hmm.
to take care of themselves? That
Mm-hmm.
answer would be no. We need to make sure that they have all the skills and be fully equipped, prepared, and give a skill set to not just survive, but able to function in this thing we call life. Just my thoughts. And that's a great thought, sir. And, I don't think, and I think many times we all get caught up in our world as adults trying to cultivate and navigate that. Sometimes, we focus on the basics for the kids, but you don't, you don't go into great depth. Like, okay, because every day should be a teaching thing for them. Not only we can't rely on the school system, and I'm going to speak. I'm going to say that because I've been a part of that, the public school system for 19 years, and then also at the college level for another like 10 or 11 years. I've seen I've seen a lot, and I know that, man, every day is a battle. Like if you got a 45-minute class, probably 20 minutes of it is just trying to get the kids situated, settled in, and then you got like 25 minutes to teach, and that's probably the great majority. There are some solid teachers that the kids know not to play with. They're veterans. They got good classroom management. They come in, kids quiet like a mouse, and they doing what they need to do. But for the most part, and then in education, it's so transient that, you know, it's funny how, we have the board minutes, and you look at teachers that resign, and you see stuff 3 days. They called it quits a week. So people are walking out. They're getting upset, and they're just walking away from a full-time job because they can't handle the pressures, or it's just too much, or they feel a lack of support. So we just can't automatically assume that it's going to happen at school. So that's why we talk about this all the time too. For y'all that's caught up in that glory, and y'all think that, because your kid has straight A's and stuff in elementary and middle school, it's a whole big battlefield to worry about after that, especially when you're thinking about that at the elementary level. Uh, and once they hit middle school, it's so many different pressures. And I think we spoke on it before. Middle school issues nowadays are high school. Used to be high school issues. High school issues are probably grown folks issues, that the stuff that these kids are doing or going through. So it's those like I said, those 4.0s or straight A's as kids. That's nice. It's nice. I don't want to shoot down your dreams, but it's a whole lot left, and it's mainly, that's why I always talk about, it needs to be 50-50. It needs to be 50-50. 50% academics, 50% social. And I think that's where it's lacking, because you can have a kid with straight A's, but they got no social skills. They can't cope. They can't function. Anything that's said to them, if they looked at the wrong way, they're ready to have a meltdown, or whatever the case is. And you try to tell them what's going to happen when you go on, or you have a disagreement at work, or your supervisor doesn't like the way you did a job. What are you going to do? A lot of them not built for it. So it's just so much, so many layers. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, guys?
Hey,
Herb, I did a Michigan football live stream, and I read the Michigan Man poem.
Thank you, sir. Always appreciate it.
Thank you. How's it going, David?
All right. No, same old.
All right. Well, guys, I just want to come up really quickly, because what you were talking about, it really touched me in terms of putting kids out at 18. And what I wanted to add to your discussion was that when I finished my doctoral training at University of Michigan, it was a proud moment for everybody, but the journey was just beginning. And I had to, the way destiny unfolded, I did what's called a postdoctoral fellowship, and I did it in Albany. That's where my dad lives. So for that next 2.5 years of my training, I stayed with my father. Okay. And it was challenging in certain ways, but I didn't pay rent. And when you finish school, when you finish years and years of schooling, you have bills, you haven't been making a lot of money. And by the time I finished and I got hired into the government, I had some money saved up. I had a couple thousand. It wasn't much, but it was more than I ever had when I was a graduate student. It was more than I ever had when I was living here at my mom's house in Buffalo. So we have these assumptions about what's grown and what you should be able to do at 18 and what you should be able to do in your 20s. And there's so much you have to learn to be a functioning adult and to be successful and to have a reasonable quality of life, to be able to have an emergency fund, to stay out of consumer debt. And some people are finishing school with large sums of student loan debt, right? This is something no one ever talks about. And as you were talking about putting kids out at 18, I remember in my current federal position, I work with a Pakistani woman. She's gotten married, and we don't talk much these days because she got another position. But in their families, everybody stays at home until they marry off, and they're all on the same phone bill. And I think the older brother, I think in their culture and their customs, the oldest brother, he becomes the patriarch, quote unquote, and it's his job to take care of mom and dad and to take care of everyone else. But my point is that they're not all just shoved out there to figure it out by themselves. And there are consequences for being shoved out there. It sounds romantic, you're 18 now, you need to do this, you need to do that. But a lot of people are not ready. They don't understand what it means to pay bills. They don't understand credit. They don't understand what it means to be a functioning adult. And even kids, once they finish their schooling, they don't know how to get a mortgage. They've got bills, they've got debt. And all these things are being carried forward into starting your life, maybe starting a family. All these things are being carried forward into that. And then so you have peers who don't have to do that, and they have a much cleaner takeoff than you do. So I just wanted to come on and say that because I see what the theme of the show is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that goes into being a man. There's a lot that goes into earning a living, being able to save your money, being able to invest some of your money, being able to create a family. That concept has been lost today. And there's a lot more that goes into all that than just turning 18. I mean, at that point, you're able to vote, you're able to go to war. But we think of these ages as arriving, but there's so much more you have to learn over the years beyond hitting those age milestones. That's what I wanted to say. I think, yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
It's good feedback and so true. So true. And
I have a buddy in Michigan, and I met him when I was at the University of Michigan, and I remember we were in our 20s, and he had this Acura, and it was my first time seeing someone control the volume on the steering wheel, and I had this old '96 Saturn SL2, and he was controlling the volume on the steering wheel. But he regretted, the one thing he regretted was that he had a $500 car payment every month on that Acura. Okay. And a lot of people were impressed with the fact that he had the Acura, but he was paying a large sum of money every month for that Acura. And that's something, I don't know if he talked to his parents before he did that. I don't know what all went into his decision making, but he felt some kind of way after he signed the paperwork. He had to shell out those $500 every month. So I don't know. There are just a lot of assumptions about what it means to be an adult, what it means to win, what it means to earn a living. I remember when I went 8 years in the DMV without having a car because I wanted to get my debts cleaned up, and I wanted to be able to save for an emergency fund, which is a foreign concept to a lot of people, And so I sacrificed, probably socially, absolutely socially. I think there were quite a few relationships that I missed out on because I didn't have a car, but I had a larger goal in mind. And I remember when I got my Kia during COVID, I remember my best friend congratulated me. He said, "Oh, congratulations on your new whip." But he never congratulated me on maxing out my retirement savings, which is arguably more important than having the car.
Yeah.
People don't care about the things that really matter. You know, they care about the symbolic things, the things they can see, the things that we think translate into power in being somebody. A car is a depreciating item. It's ultimately going to cost you money. It's not going to make you money. So I just, based upon what you guys were talking about, I think that there's a skewed, especially in our community, there's a skewed view of what turning 18 means and what turning 21 means, and being shoved out there to be a man and to be an adult or to be a woman versus other communities.
It's true. That's true. And that whole phrase, "I'm a grown ass man, I'm a grown ass woman," kind of help, kind of, made everything go downwards, whatever, to think of that. And people that know, and when you hear people say that, like, you got a lot to learn. You may be grown in age wise, as they say, but as far as your overall development, personal, social, career wise, you got a long way to go. But again, like Anwar said, it's a lot more to go into it that people don't think about. They just look at that age when they turn 18. Okay, 18, I'm grown. Turn up, and that's their thing. Like, okay, now I'm about to blossom up into adulthood. But those be the same people. They shit just don't ever pan out. Don't pan out without proper teaching or connecting with the right people to kind of stay on you throughout.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna follow that up with I won't even call it a revisionist look at things. What I'm gonna call it is a cycle of what American culture was in the mid 19th century to what it is in the 20th century and to what it is going into the 21st century. If we looked at the way homes and families were constructed, in the mid 1800s, that father at a younger age would get a large parcel of land. Hopefully he married out, they had some kids, the kids would farm, and eventually the sons would get a piece of that land, and they would work that land along with their kids. And in perpetuity, everybody would get a piece of their land, and that land would actually grow. Now we move into the 20th century to where, there was a transition, and nobody really knows when this transition occurred. We can say sometime around World War I, when women were actually liberated enough to work in the factories because men were off to fight wars. So you have a stretch from 1910 to 1916, which there was a transition. The family unit was de-emphasized, becoming more independent was encouraged, going to school, whether it's Black America, Caucasian, whatever aspect of America, Western culture in general. And there was a transition, and in those transitions, a lot of things were lost. A lot of things on how to work with tools, how to manage money, how to deal with certain crises that may have arisen in your life. Because and this gets into the mortality rate. The mortality rate is starting to grow now, but women didn't always survive childbirth. So you had some women who her second kid, she may have died, and she may have been 23, and their father was left to raise kids, farm the land, and do everything that two parents were supposed to do, even though that was never the plan. So now we take something that was considered forced, and now it's voluntarily. Why do we, as people in Western cultures, whether you're male or female, sign up to do things the hard way. I will never understand. I've always said to myself, and this is something I'm glad I've been able to keep as my word. I said, if I ever produced a child out of wedlock, I would stop dating and focus on that child until that child became an able-bodied adult, because I believe that, and I've said this early in the show, because that's my responsibility to that child. I think we have a lot of adults who have taken a laissez-faire approach when it comes to parenting, and that only negatively impacts that child. Like Dr. Dunbar said, everybody's not born to play that role. It reminds me of another song, Simon and Garfunkel, Leaves May Bend with the Rainfall. I would encourage you to listen to that song as well and think about what we're talking here. I love folk music personally, because when I was in a foster home in a small little hamlet in Alcott, from the time that I was 8 to almost 12, the gentleman, and I will never forget his name, and rest his soul, Mr. Fred Jefferson. There was nothing, and I kid you not, there was nothing that I saw that this man couldn't do. Pull a car engine, pull a motor, weld, paint, drop a building from nothing, concrete, walls, electric. I learned so much from that man that I don't know where I would be in life if I'd never landed there in foster care. And full disclosure, there are some women that I have dated that I have taken to the very home that I stayed in, and I showed them that place. Mainly because I want them to know an aspect of me that not everybody's going to get access to. And I think that's something we all need to take into consideration, whether you're male or female, is everybody shouldn't have access to you. I don't care who tells you what. Because access to you means that somebody has the ability to temper with you. And that's not necessarily good. It's not necessarily a bad thing. If you ask wealthy people, they will tell you, restrict access to yourself, because that becomes invaluable. People that have your time are people who should have earned and deserve it. I know what I said at the top of the show about checking in on your friends, and I sincerely mean that. Check in on your friends. That's how you keep your bonds strong. Check in on your family. That's how you maintain your familiar relationships. So when something happens, people can't say, oh, you only come around when you need something. No, I check in on you all the time, whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly. I'm there. I'm seeing how you're doing. I want to hear you, because a text is anything. I can convey anything during a text. But if I pick up the phone and I hear some consternation in your voice, I'm going to ask you what's going on. What's wrong? How can I help? And I think that's lost. And, with all the technology we have with Facebook, social media, you send a quick message. Okay, they said they were cool. Did you speak to them? And people say, why? Why not? I saw a dude that I grew up with today. And the first thing I do is I joke with him, but then I go up and I give that man a hug. You know why? Because I want to feel a life in his body. I want to feel a warmth that he can transmit to me and me to him. And I think so often when we talk about these subjects, that kind of gets lost in translation, because we want to convey that there's a larger context to this. And the question I asked about the homelessness, 60.6% of homeless people in this country are men. 38.3% are women. So this is why buying a home and retiring the mother becomes a sticking point with me. Yes, I'm a man. I'm well-to-do. I can provide. But there are men who go to war for this country, who stood up for this country, who have to live on a cold fucking concrete street because society doesn't care about them. That's wrong. I don't care who you are.
Dead wrong.
I don't care where you come from. If we can't take care of the people who have fought, given a measure of themselves, whether it's physical or mental, then we as a country, we have inverted priorities. That's personal to me, not because I've served, but because I see it. Let me get off the soapbox before I get into a BGS rant.
Well, Herb, I want to say one more thing not to drop, because I have something in the oven here.
Yeah.
But going back to, you stated that it used to be, and things change, things evolve, I guess, naturally, and sometimes things are intentionally changed. But you said that fathers would get a plot of land and then their sons would get a piece of that land. So something I thought about in that story was my engagement story. At one point, I was engaged and looking to get married. And I might have told you guys the story, but I'll tell it again. I remember I had another coworker. They were both white, one from Pennsylvania, one from upstate New York, and they had gotten married since I had been in my current position. And I remember when I was going to look for a ring for the woman I was with, I remember I asked for their advice. And then the husband, he basically told me, kind of laughed when he said it, but he said, there's really not a lot I could tell you about ring shopping because we got the diamond from my grandmother. Okay, so the wife, she wanted a certain metal. I think she wanted platinum. She didn't want gold. But he said we can introduce you to our gemologist. But I really didn't have to search for a ring because we got the diamond from my grandmother. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get it. I didn't get it right then and there. But then when I had to go find the ring and negotiate the price with the seller, that's when that's when the light bulb turned on. That he didn't have to buy a diamond. I had to buy a diamond. The diamond was in their family.
Mm-hmm. Heirloom.
So there are advantages. Not saying this in a judgmental way, because we all have our lot in life, but there are advantages to being born into families where things have been thought out, where there are structures in place, and where things are being passed down. And so that's a different thing than having to go out and build it yourself and buy your own diamond and pay for your own wedding versus getting the diamond from your family and the bride's parents and your parents putting some money in. It's a different thing when you're doing it all yourselves and having to rebuild everything yourselves. And that's if you don't have two practically minded people, you're already starting off that journey in debt. You're already starting off that journey overspending. And because the wedding, we know that the wedding for many people, that's the big thing, that's the big deal, that's the highlight. But you have this whole potential life afterwards. So I just as we're talking about this, what it means to be a man and being shoved out there at 18 and having to figure things out, it's a different life when things are kind of left in place for you to step into and assume. So I'm going to drop. I'm going to listen. I might come back up, but thanks for letting me up, guys.
Always, Doctor.
Thanks for the
I shared this on my community tab, so
appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, brothers. Yeah, and that's so true. Like stuff that's left, and that's when when you think about insurance and all of that stuff. When somebody older passes, if things is done correct, then everybody after, well, not everybody, whoever, certain money will be left for other people to kind of build upon and have something already in the pot. But as you see, as people dying, everything is GoFundMe. Mm-hmm. GoFundMe. Like we in this culture that you always need help or assistance. And I know, not saying we all can use a little help and assistance at times, but stuff is not being put in place to make things easier. So you wonder why. Again, we talk about it. You wonder why when you're 25, you look 40. And you stress the hell out because of so many different things that's going on. like you need to take the time to make sure that, especially when you older, that something is put in place so that people don't have to worry about, 'cause those are big burdens to have to worry about this or that, or trying to raise this or that. And sometimes I just, you see this stuff and you click on it and they're like, okay, they're looking for $5,000, $10,000, and 2 weeks that went by, they like at $250. Like, it's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad that you're put in that position, but at the same time, when we think about the original post of this whole broadcast, and like Herb mentioned, it's not until recent that these NBA players, NFL players, got these big contracts, and some of that stuff is not even guaranteed. Like, you can have that contract, but you're not even, most of them, like for example in football, you may play, like if you're a running back, you may play 5 years, so that leave you at 27. The hell you gonna do after that?
Yeah.
So you see these stories, and these people put out stuff. Where are they now? And some of these same people who had millions are homeless or working at regular jobs and things of that nature. So sometimes when somebody, hits that jackpot, or that, you can't take on the whole family. You can't take care of everyone. Because if you do, what happens when everything turns sour? All it takes is one little injury, and it's all over. And it's all over. Or one incident, that you're a star player and you get into some domestic dispute and you get blackballed, and your money source is cut off. Look at and I don't know his finances, but you think about like Ray Rice, who was a running back for the Ravens, whatever. But he played like 5 years. I think he was like 27,
Yeah.
28, and got into that incident,
Funny.
and it was all over.
Yeah.
It was all over, and he was a big time player. He's putting in work. All that money, just the contracts and all that stuff. So you have to be mindful. Now, if I was making 5, 10 million a year, and I knew that it was like, okay, it was a potential longevity, of course I'm going to make sure my mother has something better than what she had. But you can't take on everybody, because then, you got people coming out of the woodwork, want you to take care of them, and that's how some of these players, they fail, because they don't have nobody that really, and then they have accountants that kind of rob them too, because they know that these people don't have enough education or sense to manage anything, and they not paying taxes and stuff like that, and they getting screwed. So it's so many layers to the whole thing. That's it. I'm gonna chill for a while. Passing the mic.
Just to throw this out there, I know a lot of our listeners probably know who Steve Harvey is. He talked about his accountant embezzling money from him, and he didn't realize this until he got the tax bill. Guess who that tax bill came full for? It wasn't the accountant. It was Steve Harvey. So yes, people will take advantage of you if you are fiduciarily, I can say that word, if you are financially ignorant. You don't understand interest. You don't understand taxes, because a lot of people don't understand how an athlete's contract is actually taxed. So let me break it down for y'all. If you see an athlete, doesn't matter what sport, as long as they reside in the United States of America, this is how it goes. You're already in the top tax bracket, which puts you at, I believe, 36 or 38%. That's gone right off the muscle. You do not see that. So all of a sudden now, a $20 million contract becomes a $12 million contract. That's federal. Now, if you live in a state that does state tax, states is taking their lump. So by the time you get that $20 million contract, you're down to about 8.5, maybe 9 million. You haven't bought one thing. One thing. Okay. Now, Let's say you go out and buy you a house, which is what most people are going to tell you invest in, because homes appreciate in value. Yes, they are definitely they're tax rights, and that's what I was just speaking about with the state, the federal, then the state. So let's say you go out and you buy that home, and it's assessed at $1.2 million. Guess what you're paying on that? Taxes. Oh, we didn't even talk about the maintenance and the upkeep. So just imagine what you pay on maintenance, upkeep, and taxes for a home that costs you $60,000, $70,000 in a modest city, modest neighborhood. That's got to be paid every year in perpetuity. This is why we talk. Just that's right, Gavin. These are the things that we talk about. So when a son go buys his mother a home, if she couldn't afford it before, guess who's paying the taxes on that? So it's not just a one-time purchase. He's got a tax bill for his mother and his own family. This is the dangers that people do not understand when a son takes on the role that the mother should be, I said should be, sharing with her husband. Because if they get married, they produce a family and they plan for that family financially, she's set. But in Western culture, where family and marriage is disincentivized, you have a lot of this praising the son for doing what's right for the mother. Well, what's right for the son and his potential family? Just like David said, you're not supposed to take on the entire family. Well, some people will say the mother isn't the entire family. If he's a single child, guess what? That's another family. That is another family that he has to account for financially. And guess what? If she's working, he doesn't get to claim her as a dependent. So none of that is a tax write-off. This is where we start to get into the next level of things that a lot of people don't understand about a child buying a parent a home, especially an expensive home. Now, I understand if he upgrades her home or he pays off her mortgage. The difference is this: he hasn't taken ownership. She's still able to maintain that home with the income she has, and now her burden has been alleviated, and he hasn't taken on an additional burden. He's given a one-time gift, which I'm all for. I am all for a child doing something of that nature for a relative, be it a brother, sister, father, aunt, uncle. One-time gift. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that should be applauded. It's just like Christmas. Everybody, we coming up on the Christmas season. I personally don't celebrate. I always tell people, don't buy me gifts. Give me your time. I'm a staunch proponent of that. I want your gifts. Now, from time to time, I may come across something that I like. I say, hey, look, if you want to give me something, give me this. I am unabashed in saying that. That's what I'll say. But other than that, give me your time. Time is something that you can't get back. So I know when you give me your time, you really give me something because you appreciate
it. It's a lot said, and I'm thinking about the what you said as far as upgrades of the home, or you can give them their, if it's just your mom, a single mom, give her a little loft in your big house, and we don't even see each other like that. You got your own area. Stay out of my business, I stay out of yours, or whatever the case is.
And that's just what Daphne. That's just what Daphne just. Let me read her comment real quick. She said, "I wouldn't want a big house, but a compound that has 4 reasonable homes on a property for all of us to live on."
Yeah. And that way, you still can check on them, but you all have your space. So you're not worried that they're in another state or somewhere far away you can't get to. You always have access, but you have your own. Everything is good. Nobody's struggling, and you're doing well. But again, we have these issues in our community that nobody in your business. Everybody, bad enough for ladies, they don't want nobody in their damn kitchen. No other woman can come in my kitchen and all these different things, whatever. So it's kind of hard to say to kind of build up um, that unison because people want to have their privacy and do their own thing, but it may be killing them financially. It's a couple more thoughts I got, but Anita, I know you've been on for a while. Anything you want to say or add to what has been discussed? And there's been a lot discussed so far.
Not yet.
Okay. And one of the things I want to think, when I think about like when we talk about athletes, I think about professional boxers and stuff like that. That people don't realize that the money that they have to fork out, that they may have. Say if it's someone making 2 million for a fight or 3 million, but by the time they pay the promoter, um, their whole team, uh, the trainer, and if they got a chef and all of that stuff, that money goes by fast. A lot of people, and they say he destroyed boxing, and they talk about Money Mayweather, but he came up with a plan that he said, "Shit, I'm not paying no promoters. I'm gonna self promote, do my own thing, and build my brand to get the maximum amount of dollars a fight." Then he, had smart investments. He hooked up with the right people like Al Heyman and stuff like that to learn the game. And it's always stuff chronicle. He got tax debts and all of this stuff. I don't know whatever the case is, but he still looked like he freaking doing well, no matter what. And anytime you can make 200 some million a fight, and then retire and still make good money, it seemed like he came up with a good plan. But a lot of times, these other boxers, they get caught up in, they want to live the life, but they have so many other people that they have to pay out to, and they're not getting the money because they haven't branded themselves, so nobody is interested in watching them. So they're getting 1 million a fight, but by the time they pay everything and taxes and all that stuff, it's a little short. Well, I mean, we would take it as common people, but it's nothing that they could sustain because of their lifestyle and the things that they do. So you just got to be careful as far as that. Like I said, it's a lot going on that you have to think about, and just because you turn a certain age or whatever the case is, don't mean you was put in a position to be able to maintain it. So I think that's one of the messages that has been said throughout this evening.
Yeah, it's. I mean, a lot of people. It's take for instance a high end car. You, and I'm not talking about necessarily your Mercedes or BMWs, which constitutes pretty much the high end for us common folks, shall I say. But let's say you go out and you get a Maserati or a Maybach or something like that, to where maintenance is required every so often. You have to use 97 Ultra as your fuel source. So you're not, forget about, the regular price at the pump. You're paying an extra dollar and something to make sure that you get the highest grade of fuel possible for that vehicle. Now, just imagine if something goes wrong in that car. You have to take it to a specialized place. You just can't take it to your corner mechanic or somebody you've entrusted with your Cadillac. You got to take it to somebody who specializes in dealing with high end foreign cars. And they tell you the repair bill is $3,500. You say, man, all you have to do is change the sensor. Yes. But in order to change that sensor, I got to do this. This becomes a laborious task. So that's what you're paying for. And it's the same thing, I mentioned earlier with these homes. You can walk into any home and pay the asking price. You say, yeah, I got a home. No, you have another bill. You just haven't had to pay for anything yet. So what happens if your water cooler goes? What happens if you have to repair your roof? What happens if your AC goes out in the summer if you live in a climate that you need air? Most of the southwestern portion of the United States, they have AC, and they need it. They need it like the Northeast needs heat. So if your heater goes out in the winter, you making that call. You have to bite the bullet. And most often, as they report, most Americans don't have $400 or $500 saved up for an emergency. That bites. So when you're scrambling, to have to cover an emergency expense, what do? That's one of the reasons why I tell people. I said, when I bought my house, my first priority was price. Can I fit our mortgage into my budget comfortably, with some room, to start putting money aside in case I need to save up to replace something. I found that. Number two was, can I find a place within my budget that I like, that is close enough to work to where I do not have to buy a car? I found that as well. I live literally, I kid you not, a 20-minute walk from where I work at. Last year when Buffalo got hit with that blizzard, Niagara Falls wasn't as bad. And I did the live to Facebook. I chronicled myself walking to work. There you go. The people who saw it seen that. Now I wasn't aware that 15 minutes into it, because of the temperature affects the batteries, cut off. I was like, that's weird. And that same thing happened coming back. And then it wasn't until later in that somebody said, no, the code will shut that battery down. It won't function. But I do have a valid driver's license. I keep a valid driver's license because from time to time, I've had a change in plans for my birthday. So I'm not going to Cleveland. I'm going to hit Toronto if that checks out. But I keep a valid driver's license. So yes, I do know how to drive, but I just didn't want an additional expense. Why would I pay for a car, gas, maintenance, insurance, and all that other stuff when I can use that to pay down debt? I can use that to go to places. There are things that people don't consider because they want to keep up with the Joneses. Keeping up with the Joneses is going to keep you broke. Okay, so when I talk about these particular things, I do so with the knowledge of a person who's actually in the trenches in this fight. So, when we talk about, the manipulation of a son, or a son retiring his mother, what exactly is he retiring her to? Because she's still going to need to eat. She's still going to need to pay light. She's still need to go to pay her gas bill if she has one, or whatever the case is. And all of that stuff. Is she going to take that up too? Is she not going to work?
Yeah, that was an added bill because you don't know how, and I can't imagine she was that old. But to retire her, I mean, to me, if you're in your late 30s or 40 and you still want to work. It's a difference. It's a difference of going to work, but you like, hey, I got some things to fall back on, but I'm gonna go here. You feel you're gonna have, to me, less stress or less pressure than like I need the job. But if you went about it and you've been working at the job for years, you're just gonna go in there like nothing changed, and you're gonna get that money, you're gonna get that paycheck. But meanwhile, if your son sets you up with something, you don't just want to stop working altogether. And oftentimes I have conversations with people and they talk about, oh, if you win the lottery and all that. I said, I'm still gonna work. I said, I'm still gonna work a little bit. And I said, I'm gonna work, but I'm gonna have my whole attitude is just going I'm not going to have no stress at the job. In fact, I'm going to laugh at most of the things that they do because I know that I have something to sit on and I'm not the type that just going to get fired from a job. Like I'm going to do something just outlandish, but I'm going to go to work and I'm not going to be stressed. A lot of times people are stressed because they got other outside things going on. And it reminded me when Herb was talking about being a homeowner, and I always think about the great Dave Ramsey when he was saying like about people like if you can't afford to get a home, don't get a home because unless it's something that you built up and it's brand new, it's gonna come with problems. Then you're gonna have to fix it. Do you have the money to fix that? If the roof go bad or something like that, and then you end up in serious problems. And he always said, stop buying brand new cars. He said, get you, in the word he used, get you a clunker that's going to last you a couple years, that you can pay for it and you run it to the ground. Then you get you another clunker and you just keep doing that. But a lot of times, we don't be in positions to be able to say, let me go ahead and pay this $3,000-$4,000 to get this clunker that probably will last you a couple years, and you just keep doing that. No, we got to floss. Everybody got to floss. That's the problem.
That's
the problem.
the
Flossing.
the funny thing about that is my very first car, I kid you not, was a 1982 Buick Century. I paid $600 for that. Cash advance, $300 off my Discover, paid the rest in cash that I've been saving up for whatever. At the time I was in college, so I was working weekends, going to Buff State, come home working the weekends. So I had some coins saved up, and I drove that car from. There's a story in here that I'm gonna tell too. I drove that car from St. Bonaventure all the way up to Hamilton on weekends. We would me and my crew, shout out to my Buff State crew, some of the boys from New York City, they came up and we would bail to a spot in Hamilton called Roxy's. And we would party out till about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, man. Piling this Century, man. Come back on the campus, man. And I can't tell you the amount of fun I had with that car until the engine block cracked. Now, like I said, I paid $600 for it. I got significantly more than $600 worth of use out of the car. But as a matter of fact, from where my present home is now, I bought that car from a woman who lives less than a 5-minute walk from me. She had all the paperwork from all the maintenance she ever did. So yeah, I'm sold. 600 title, deed, all that other stuff, bill of sale, and I had a blast. Now, the story I'm going to tell is I had the car insured through my brother, so I didn't have to pay a arm and a leg for insurance because I was a first-time car owner. Now, we going down to St. Bonaventure. My boy was going to Kinesis at the time, so it was me and two of my other boys. I won't mention their names. We coming through a police check. Got nothing to worry about. License straight, insurance straight. What I didn't know was the front tag on my car had fallen off. So they split us up. They doing the good cop, bad cop thing. Well, he's doing the good cop, bad cop thing. Pulls me over, a bunch of questions. Go in the back end, bunch of questions. Now, our information matches up because we down to the Watts Kinesis place St. Bonaventure. We slept on the floor and at somebody's dorm. We didn't even know. That's what we did. We crashed out. We're gonna get in the bucket in the morning, bail back to college, bail back to Buff State campus. Monday morning, class, everything's copacetic. So he goes to talk to my boy. He comes back up, and don't you know this motherfucker had the audacity to ask me, say, okay, now what are you guys really doing down here? I looked at this dude. I said, man, I just told you what we doing. Now, don't you know this? I think it was a state trooper. Had the audacity to say, can you call a parent or somebody and have them pick you up? I said, don't you understand? I said, I'm in college. Nobody knows where I am, let alone how to get here. Hell, I don't know how to give somebody directions to get here. I just know how to get back to campus. So this fool ended up letting us go, and it wasn't until we all got back in the car. They said, "What you tell him?" I said, "I told him the same thing y'all told him." We came down here to watch St. Bonaventure Kinesis play. We were going back. We didn't find out later till this fool thought we was trafficking drugs. That just goes to show you that even when you're doing right as a black man, they think you're doing wrong. I just wanted to put that out there. So when people ask, why do blacks have a distrust of law enforcement or the judicial system, there you go. It's not because we think shit is wrong, it's because we're always looked at as guilty before even given a chance to prove our innocence. So I just wanted to put that story out there.
Anita, anything you got to
Mhm.
say?
Yep, I got a whole bunch to say now.
Oh,
Now that
shit.
I'm awake.
Mm.
Um, let's for a minute. Have you guys talked about anything other than retiring a parent and buying them a home? Because there's a lot more to the subject of son husband relationship with their mom.
You
Oh
probably
no,
missed
by
that
by
one.
all means, add. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I got on here late, so I wasn't listening prior to that. I was having difficulties. So what I mean is like a son that his mother is making him feel like obligated in a certain weird way to perform as a husband would. So, for example, I had a boyfriend once upon a time. It's hard to believe, huh? But I had a boyfriend once upon a time that lived with me that moved from his mom's house to my house because he was a truck driver. He didn't need an apartment. His mom's house was paid off or whatnot. So when we, got to that point, he moved in and his mom needed a whole bunch of help because she has some medical problems. So after a while, he said he's burnt out from going over there, staying for a week, helping her out, or helping on the weekends because it's much more convenient to wake up at his mom's house and get stuff done, you know. And then he got to come home and deal with a real girlfriend. And by that time, he's burnt out from feeling like he's already came from a girlfriend's house. Does that make sense? How I'm explaining
Yeah.
it? So I
It's
was in a situation where, I mean, we were together for like 2 years, and it was like he just broke. He was just burnt. He was just burnt the hell out from it, and eventually we broke up, and he moved back in with his mom. He's like, "Well, my mom's always going to be my mom." I'm like, "Yeah, but create some boundaries there. Like, if she needs help, I get it. I don't have anything against helping your parents or parent because she's a single parent. Um, but at a certain point, like, you got to draw some lines. Like, hey, mom, I don't mind doing this, 2 weekends out of the month, but I do have a girlfriend and he just got burnt out of taking care of her household, then taking care of our household. And it wasn't fair to me. It wasn't fair to him either. I'm like, well, something's got to give here. So what gave was the breaking up of our relationship. And that wasn't fair. So
I would
at the tail
go ahead. I'm
end,
sorry.
I got the shit deal of the whole ordeal. I was pissed. I won't lie. I was very disappointed, frustrated, upset, pissed off. I'm like, yeah, this is fucking ridiculous. God, like,
I always like to use the term equitable because, and it's something I heard when I was watching a NASCAR broadcast. A gentleman said, a pit boss said, I never use the term fair. He said, when I think of fair, I think of the big top and cotton candy. So I always like to use the term equitable. And to what you're saying, Anita, is exactly what happens when a young boy grows up under the tutelage of his mother and other females. He A, doesn't understand what you said about boundaries, and B, more important from me as a man is being able to use and affirm and stand on the word no. A lot of men have problems with telling a single mother or mother who's dependent upon them no. And that man is compromised. Anytime that a man cannot tell somebody no and mean it and not have to defend it, he's compromised. Because automatically what comes next is I birthed you, I did this, I did that. You chose to birth. You chose to engage in intercourse. You chose not to be married. See, I'm the wrong one to have that
I
conversation.
mean, she was married, but his parents got divorced when he was 5. So
hold on.
he didn't really have he didn't have that dad role model in his life.
He did. And you want me to tell you why? Because he's an employed adult with a consistent job. Somebody somewhere taught him that he needed to be employed to pay his way through life. That's why I dispute that. And I've always said on this platform.
You know more to the story.
Well, no. No. I know what it means to be a man. I'm not saying I know his story. His story can have some nuances that might make me say, okay, I understand. But I've always said on this platform, and I'll maintain it, that if an adult reaches the age of between 40, 45, and 50, and they don't have help from friends that they can call them once in a while, that they have failed to mature as an adult. I've said that. I'll stand by it, because this is why. You can tell people who are abusive because they have very few friends that they've known for decades. Let me say that again. You can tell people who are abusive to other people because they will have friends that they have had for less than a decade. If anybody is dealing with somebody that's abusive and they don't want to be abused, what are they going to do? They're going to leave that person and leave that situation in its entirety. Especially if they value their mental well-being. They're going to say, look, what do I look like? A crutch? What do I look like? Your mother? Your father? I'm out of here. Don't call me again. Blocked on social media, block cell phone, block text. And you can do that nowadays. You can cut somebody off cold turkey and say, look, I don't talk to them anymore. They're abusive. They're leech. They only call when they need something. They only call when they want something. They don't call to check them, and they don't call to say how I'm doing. They don't even come by and bring something for Thanksgiving. They come by with the handout, and then after they eat, they take a plate with them. They don't even stand around to help wash the dishes. They don't even stand around to help put the leftovers. They don't stand around to help do anything.
It reminds me of Big Shaughnessy, how she says she cut people off and blocked people within minutes, whatever. Shout out to Shaughnessy, whatever. She says she don't mind blocking people. But one of the things
this happened very gradually, and he told me in the beginning, I can't have an adult relationship because of my mom. She doesn't like any of my girlfriends or anybody I date. And she's a lot of work. And gradually I was the only one of his adult relationship, serious long-term relationship girlfriends that we did get along. But gradually I saw the light. It was a mess. It was very messy. It was emotional, verbal, mental abuse towards me from both. It was crazy. But when you're actually in the situation and it happens gradually, it doesn't always occur to you like, this may not be the healthiest thing for me to be doing right now, because you're actually in the situation.
Well, one of the things
but the end result, I wasn't projecting that the end result would be that. I know she needed help. The house is paid off, so she just really needs help, like cutting the grass, winterizing the house, fixing stuff around the house, and it's a big, big house. I was like,
Man, you
I
you
won't take that as a loss. I'll take that as a gain. Go back to mommy, and good luck with that. He is not a matured adult. At 43 years old, he is not a matured adult. It's a sad situation to see. And he only numbed out by doing drugs, weed or whatever, beer. He numbed out by doing that stuff to deal with our situation and his mom's situation. It was very messy at the end.
too much pressure. He knew damn well when he moved in with you that it was gonna be short term. He knew where his loyalty was at. And maybe he thought, okay, I can escape and move in with you, but knowing damn well he wasn't going to not contact his mother.
No, I
And
never expected him to do that. She lived like 15 minutes away. I was
because
never
But
trying to keep anybody from their mother.
no, I didn't
but
say
here's
that.
the yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sometimes it's about setting boundaries and to be able to be tied up in your own world that uh, when you caught up in what you do, sometimes you know how to keep people at bay. Now, if you're somebody that's calling every day, hey man, you need anything? You're damn sure she gonna find an excuse for something for you to do because you took away her peace. So she's gonna
Wasn't
find something.
exactly her piece.
That's the way she looked at it.
Right.
Probably so. Therefore, it was always gonna be something, and people always, they talk about it. Sometimes you have to look at the dynamics of the relationship with the, you know, mother, son, daughter, father, and say, damn, I, you need time to observe things before you say, I don't think I want to get into this. It's too much going on. It's too much going on. So,
I mean, everything was copacetic. Like, I don't know, I'll say the first 5 months he moved in, and
that's still the
kind of
honeymoon
had a.
stage.
I mean, that's before that. That before he moved in.
Well, no, that's what Dave is saying.
Yeah.
There's a period of time, and everybody talks about this, which is one of the reasons why I'm coming up with. I got to get the book out. I know, which is one of the reasons why I come up with the 100 questions because let me phrase it like this. Most people that listen to this platform and us know I do not deal intimately with a woman who can conceive. I'm giving up one of my trade secrets for the benefit of the show. Now,
We already knew that.
for the people who don't. Now,
Oh,
I always get pushback from the women asking, how would I know if a woman can conceive or not? I ask the questions. I'm not listening for a response. I could care less what she says. I'm looking at how she reacts. Her reaction is going to tell me whether she's lying or whether she's telling me the truth. And I'm good at reading body language. I'm damn good at reading body language, determining bullshit when I hear it. So, and I always reiterate to women. I said, "Do you think I got to be a 50 something plus year old sexually active male with no kids by happenstance? Really? Is that what you think?" And then all of a sudden, yeah, Ernie is crazy. Yeah, you can use that in your piece, man, if you want to. You have full permission with my thanks. Yeah, man. So I tell people, do you think that should happen by just accident, pure accident? I said, no. I said, I'm good at what I do because I've been doing it for so damn long. So I always tell people, if you ever get here's something for anybody who's on the 35 plus side of dating. If you get the opportunity, especially for women, this pretty much won't really be a big an issue for men because fathers tend not to rely on their daughters for a whole lot unless it's cooking and clean. And you same thing applies. If you get the opportunity to go to your significant other's home, go sit, shut the fuck up, and observe. Don't ask any questions. Just sit and observe the dynamics. When he gets there, what does the mother do? Is she giving him directions? Is she sitting around with her feet up? Or is she helping? That will tell you all you need to know about the nature of their relationship. And then you just proceed from there and ask, how often do you go over to your mother's house and you assist her with this? Do not ask questions that makes him defend what he's doing, because then you come across as attacking. You don't want to do that. So make sure you phrase your questions with how often, frequency, time spent, and then make your decision. Because if he's spending too much, if he's spending this time now and she's resentful, it's only going to worsen. That's a tip.
Again, like I said, you took away her piece, so it's gonna be some anguish. And unless you stepping in a role that's gonna make her life better, it's always gonna be some turmoil, and people don't understand that. And which was interesting because when we put this topic out, I got some pushback where a lot of people said, "Well, are you going to do a subject about fathers and daughters?" And I was like, yeah, if that's what y'all want, but I don't think it's the same dynamics.
Right.
I don't think it's the same dynamics. So to me, it means that you don't really you're not thinking deeper that fathers and daughters it's not that type of party like it is if a woman is relying heavily on a son. If you're a father and you're relying heavily on your daughter to do things, you're a fucking bum.
Pretty much.
You're a fucking bum. Unless you just disabled or whatever the case is, and she feel obligated or committed, like, oh, I got to take care of my dad. I got to do this and that. And sooner or later, man, especially if he has stuff going on, he eventually probably say, you know what? You probably need to move back in with him. Like, this shit ain't working because I need things, around here. I need you for certain things, and you're too worried about that. It's just probably it's different. Where some moms they can ruin a relationship, but I always talk about boundaries.
It was the craziest thing I ever been involved in. She was okay with it. Like,
of course she was, because she's still getting his benefit.
She was okay with him living with me for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Because we would both go over there. Sometimes I would cook dinner here, bring it over there. All three of us would eat as a family. And sometimes she would cook dinner and we'd go over there. I mean, and then, winter rolls around, she needs the house winterized, or, fall rolls around or whatever. They need the pool. She needs the pool closed and all this. It was the craziest thing. But she was okay for, we dated 3 months, broke up for a few months, got back together a couple months, then he moved in. And she was okay. She was okay with it. He told her on Mother's Day, all three of us went out to eat for lunch. He told her on Mother's Day, yeah, I'm totally moving in with her. She's going to be my wife.
Oh, hell.
I was like, what? I'm gonna be your what?
He went about that. He went about that the wrong way.
But she was
Yes,
okay
sir.
with it.
Wrong day.
She knew it was coming because he was staying at my house every night anyway. At that point.
They say hope springs eternal for a particular reason. As BGS
What?
is fond of saying, and people in the
What'd you
hope
say?
springs eternal. Hope springs eternal. She was hoping that the reality and the optics didn't match what she was seeing. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Women will be stubborn until they can afford to not be. In other words, no matter what a situation, and we talked about this, I believe, last week with do men lie or do women delude themselves? A situation presents itself, and every measurable, conceivable metric says it's going to go this way. A woman will stay there saying, nope, 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 nope. And then it happens, she say, oh, I couldn't believe it. There was a train sounding its horn for 1.5 miles coming down you at 70 miles an hour when you were standing on the tracks and you didn't think you thought this train was going to stop? Come on now, you can't be that gullible. And it turns out some women will stand on those tracks and get hit by that train. And the train is reality.
She was telling the whole family, this is my daughter-in-law, at family gatherings. This is my she was telling,
and now you know what that means.
And then we went to
You fell for it. You fell for it, Anita. That's the bad thing. You fell for the shit. That's the bad thing.
I mean, this is like already, but I mean, it wasn't like the first time I got introduced to his family, it wasn't like that. But, after that, the family gatherings, he'd introduced me as, oh, this is the one I'm going to marry. I'm like, you are? I don't remember that question. Or he introduced me as his fiance. His mother would introduce me as her future daughter-in-law, and she just loved me to death. And it was crazy. And then he lived with me for 9 months, and again, she needed help and here and there. And then he had a job, so it was just overwhelming for him. He just got totally burnt out and shut down, like totally shut down.
It's probably because he was wearing a mask. Sooner or later, that mask has to peel off when you're trying to satisfy too many people in a situation. He was trying to be, your romantic partner and be there for you. But meanwhile, his mother, I believe a lot of it was a setup when she was introducing everybody. She knew what she was doing. She knew him. She knew him, and you didn't.
No, there's a lot more to the story that I don't want to put publicly, but
I already know that. I already know how it went down just by the stuff that you said.
No, you don't know the details, but I'm not going to make that public because that's not for public knowledge, the details. But anyway, he just got burnt out. He shut down. He said, I got 2 women, 2 households,
competing against each other. 2 women competing against each other.
My dog and his dog. And he's like, and a job. And he was pulled in too many different directions. Yeah. And I wasn't competing with his mom. His mom maybe didn't feel that way, so she said, but I was like, I'm not trying to make you choose me or her. If she needs your help, by all means, go help her. If there's something I can help her with, like go grocery shopping and help her grocery shop, by all means, I will do it because I call her my family. And I will because she has, she has some health issues and it's hard for her to walk and blah, blah, blah. I said, I'll help and I will help lighten the load so you don't have to go grocery shopping with her. This is before I had a job. But
yeah, but
after a while, he still got. he still got burnt
Not to
out,
cut you
pulling
off.
in all different directions.
And he's going to. This is the thing, and I know how this is going to come across. And I'm sorry, women, you have to bite the bullet on this one. Women are innately selfish, and there's a particular reason why women are. It's because for a fair portion of a woman's life, when she conceives, she needs help. She needs help doing basic things. She gets to a certain point in her gestation. She might need somebody to help her tie her shoes. She might need somebody to pick up the shoes so she makes sure she's wearing matching shoes. That's the nature of females. And so when we talk about female nature, particularly in the manosphere and red pill spaces, we understand that. It seems to be that women don't come to grasp with that until they get into a situation like yours and they say, well, wait a minute. Why does she need all this stuff? She doesn't need all this stuff per se. She's grown so accustomed to having it. Just like David said, that when it's taken away, she's going to react a certain way. At first, because she doesn't want to drive her son off, she's going to play the role. But just like a roll of toilet paper, eventually you put out too much shit and there ain't none left. So now you got to do something. How do you wipe your ass when there's no toilet paper? Somebody got to go get it for you. So what happens when that person isn't there to go get you some toilet paper? You're gonna figure out a way. And for most women, they're gonna cause some type of friction and division in that son's relationship, because ultimately that son, because he hasn't already established any boundaries, is more tied to her than he is to you. Just what David said. She has the emotional strings where you have absolutely nothing, regardless if you're sleeping with him, the head game is superlative. That means nothing. Pleasing his mother.
Yeah, she knew him.
This is what Dr. Sterling talks about and BGS talks about. I mentioned Dr. Sterling, I'm sorry. Dennis Sterling, the Blizzard King. He says you have, for men, especially black men, you have to kill that queen mother god simp chip in your ass. This is why I talked about men being able to say no, standing on affirming and mean it. Because if a man can't tell his mother no, he will never be able to tell anybody no. And I revert back to when I told my mother when she was convalescing with cancer, and I've said this before, that she had crossed the line, and I sent her ass back home. And I really mean that in the kindest way, because I love my mother dearly, but I love my mental health even more. And I made her leave because she violated the rules of the house. I don't care that she was my mother. It's my home, my rules, my way. You hit the door. And unfortunately, a lot of men don't have that ability when it comes to their mother or their significant other, girlfriend, wife, whatever the case is. They can't say no and mean it. That's when if a man can't tell his girlfriend no and mean it and not have to explain anything, he's compromised. And I will tell you now, you as a woman don't want him around you, because if he's compromised with you, he'll be compromised with another woman. I'm gonna give you some game. That's how that goes. If a man can't tell you no, he's gonna have a hard time telling another woman no. You don't want him because he can be manipulated.
No, Daphne, I didn't get played. There's just a lot more details to the story that I'm not going to make public.
Well, you know, the stuff that you put out here, and we trying to infer. We inferring on what we think, and that's all we can do based on the facts that we was given.
A talking point as an example.
It's just the stuff that you put out there that we infer that you were getting played.
I know, I wasn't though.
How could you say not?
Damn, you froze like Medea.
Whatever. Medea, Brother Joe, or whatever. How could you say not? The mother knew what she was doing.
Details.
Okay.
No, everything was.
I would say
everything was.
I would
okay.
I would phrase it
got
in
a job
this particular.
And he was too pulled in every different directions.
But
And
at the end of the day, the mother knew him. She knew
no,
she knew the buttons to push. She knew it.
but
You're
he
talking
had,
about somebody if he's 30 something and you've been dealing with him from 2 years. You don't have enough body of work to determine the strings that she could pull.
but he had, I was his first long-term serious relationship in his adult life.
Look at, all right, let me ask you this question, Anita. If you built a building from the ground up and you knew where that building was weakest at, in other words, you could do one thing and that whole entire building would come down. Do you think somebody else who came in 30 years after you would know the same things about that building that you do?
Well, of course not, because she
That's what you're dealing with. But hold on,
raised
right
him.
there. Stop right there. That's what you're but that's what you're dealing with.
But okay,
You're dealing
but
with
me and
somebody
her
who's
are the only ones that
I
knew
know what
how he was to
I
live
need,
with him at
no,
that
you don't.
age.
Yeah, you don't know what the other
Anita,
women do.
Anita,
Yeah, he's never lived
you're
with a
this,
woman in his adult life.
but you didn't give birth to him. You didn't.
I
It's
understand
the
what you're
old adage of the
saying.
hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. You understand it, but you're not applying it.
I understand what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, you do. I'm giving you that credit, but you're not applying it. And this is what I mean.
Well, in this
She can say something
particular,
to him. Yes. In this particular
Mhm.
situation, yes. She can say something to him that will get a reaction that you can't come close to touching. That's the power that she has that you won't have until you spend the commensurate amount of time with him. There's no way. Let me put it to you like this. Let's say we run in a 100-meter race, but I get a 30-meter head start. Are you ever going to be able to catch me? That's what you're trying to do with this particular situation. You're trying to catch the mother who's got a 30-year head start on you. You're never going to win that race. Never.
I mean,
Why
I
you even
didn't. It wasn't like that until I say 2 months prior to our relationship ending. The situation was not like that. It was, I guess she's codependent from what he told me. Yes, he did keep him as an emotional hostage bound to her. You're right, Daphne. She really
but
did.
this is
And
I'm gonna send
on
you a
his
link that
part,
BGS just did.
like I said, when he was a truck driver, he had no need for his own apartment. He was on the road all the time, so it was just convenient, and he moved
Yeah, but
to
but you're looking at
college.
where
After college, he moved way across California, and when he moved back here, he was a truck driver. So didn't make sense. So he was living with his mom for 10 years, and he wasn't.
but look at it like this. That's how she's able to keep her hooks in him. Let me put it to you a different way.
But she did have a boyfriend at that time.
Apparently the situation didn't work out.
Yeah, clearly the boyfriend
Apparently
didn't
not.
occupy her time.
And this is what I mean. As I know quite a few truck drivers.
Well, when this happened, she's been single, so
Well, okay.
this is prior to me coming along.
But I know quite a few truck drivers. You know what they all have? They have an apartment. It might cost them $500-$600. It may be sparsely populated. And this goes back to the topic of home ownership. But when they come home, there's no one there. They don't have to worry about anything, no lawn service, none of that stuff. They might launder the stuff on the road. They come home for 2 weeks. They're gone for a month. They come back home for 2 weeks. They don't have to worry about somebody invading their personal spaces. Theirs is it's quiet. They don't have to worry about anybody pulling on them. They check in. They say, "Hey, I'm home for a couple weeks. Does anybody need anything?" No. Okay. I'm back on the road in another week and a half. This is what we're talking about when we talk about the manipulation of a son by the mother. People have to realize
I know
manipulation.
this now. This is the first situation. That's the first situation I ever been in like that. I ain't
Yes, but
never
this
going
is
back to that
ubiquitous.
kind of situation.
But this is ubiquitous. People don't see it until it's put into their face. And then they say, "Oh my God, I never realized it was this bad." You know who realizes this bad? The friends of that man. The friends of that man will say, "Hey, look, dude, nothing for nothing. You need to move out of your mother's house." This is one of the reasons why guys really want to move out, is so they can get some freedom, so they can get some privacy, so they're not under the thumb of their mother. It's not to have sex, it's to have peace of mind, because a woman's nature is
Mhm.
chaotic. I don't care
So
what
so
anybody says.
so
Go
one
ahead,
of
Dave.
one of my things I want to. So has he ever moved out and lived by himself?
Yeah. Not
So he
before he
lived.
moved back to New York.
So he lived on his own by himself.
Yeah, when he went to college and then when he moved to
No, I'm talking
California.
about like as grown like um college. Where was he at? Staying in a dorm.
No, he had his own place.
Mm. Well, he probably had a roommate or whatever. What I'm getting at is, has he ever? So you said he never lived with another. He never lived with another woman. You were the
Right.
first. So
He
obviously,
was all he's very serious about, like, when he was in college, he's very serious about it. He was a teacher. He's very serious about it. He dated, but nothing serious. Um, when he moved to California, it was he had a great job, but dated, nothing serious. No,
but I think
since he moved
I,
back
See,
here,
it's
dated, nothing serious. Just me. I was the only winner.
it's a
it's
it's a
winner
body of work
chicken
that
dinner.
he doesn't have.
It's
Yeah,
a what?
and I think that's what David's getting at. It's a body of work that's incomplete. Look at it like this: most people in America, regardless of the age, between the ages of 23 to 28, 29, you usually move out of your parents' home, whether that's into another home with a wife and or kids, or with a roommate. At some time, you start to establish a body of work that you're a capable, independent adult, and you can live and function on your own, and you don't have to go back and do all these things for you. Even even when I moved out at 27 permanently, my mother didn't require me to do anything for her. My mother, heck, up until her mid to late 70s, my mother was very independent. Almost independent to the point it was just like, damn, is this normal? For a woman to be that
Well, I would
self-sufficient.
I would agree with that if um the mother didn't have so many medical issues and didn't live in a 3,500 square foot house with
So
freaking all these bedrooms and
And that's
all
so
this land and lawn and pool.
so so let me ask you
But
right,
this.
it
but
was
that's
his
the thing.
childhood home.
So,
Is the home he grew up in as a.
so let me ask you
When he
this.
went.
Did you not think that she was going to be pulling him away at times with all the barriers that were put in place? It wasn't like you were. It wasn't like you were into a situation that, okay, she has a husband, he's healthy, or she has, if he had other siblings that came by, you were kind of against the odds, whatever. Like that you were, you were going to, you were facing a circumstance that you was at a handicap, pretty much, that you knew she was going to be pulling him with all the things that she needed done, and sooner or later, he folded. Like, damn, I'm getting pulled here. I'm getting pulled there. He's only one person. Then you mentioned animals and pets and got to probably walk dogs and do this and that. He's only one person. So then that inevitable was about to happen, that sooner or later he was going to fold it, because many men would say, shit, that's my mom's. I only been with her for a couple years. I got to make sure I secure everything for my mom's. And that's what happened. I know you said it's a lot of more details that were in place, but based on what was said, this is why we inferring and drawing our own conclusions. And this is what my whole platform is about. So a lot of times people always say, well, you didn't give enough details, whatever. You only can infer on what you given. And this is what we came up with. Now that would be up to you to pull out more details or whatever, but we only can go on what we have. That's the part of the critical thinking process.
Well, for instance, when he did live with me and he had a job, spring, summertime, and I didn't have a job because I have my veteran disability, but I would go over there, get her out of the house, take her grocery shopping, or ask her, hey, I'm going to the store, you need anything, or stuff like that to lighten his load. So really the only thing he needed to do for her was cut the lawn, basically.
Did she want you to do it, or did she want him to do it?
No, she was okay with me, like, taking her shopping, getting her out of the house to the farmer's market. She liked it, actually.
You didn't answer the question.
What was the question?
But hold on, you didn't answer the question. And do you want me to tell you why you didn't answer the question?
Why?
Because he asked you, did she like it more when you did it or when he did it? Because you have to see, we have to understand, especially women, you have to understand how a woman's mind functions. Women will take a lot of things that they're not happy with.
What I said
Go ahead.
was, yes, she did like when I got her out of the house and helped her grocery shop and took her to the farmer's market, stuff like that, stuff that she normally wouldn't do by herself, and stuff that he really doesn't like to do, like shop.
Yes. Let me ask you this question. Would she had rather have you do it, or would she had rather have him do it?
Me.
Are you certain?
Yes.
Then why is it that you two aren't together if she was the one driving you apart?
That's a long story. Because
that's
what the topic is about. He felt like he had to take care of two households, two women.
He didn't. No. He didn't have to. He chose to. He could have said, Mom, look, I'm trying to move on to a different aspect in my life. I'm trying to make something with this individual, and you're impeding that. This is what Daphne was talking about. But he didn't do that because she has his hooks in him to the point where he can't say no. This is what I meant when I said men need to be able to say, stand. I'm going to call BS. You know why? Because being a trucker is one of the most mentally taxing jobs that a person can have in this country. Because if you do something wrong, not only can you kill, you can be killed. Especially if he's a long haul trucker.
That was years ago. I'm talking about that was years ago when he
had a job as a trucker. Has the ability. But he still has the ability. Let me put it to you like this. If
He
I
has
gave you an
the
M16, could you feel?
ability,
Hold on.
maybe.
Yes. And that's what I was getting ready to say. If I gave you an M16, could you field strip it?
Yeah.
How long has it been since you've been in the military?
Since 2007.
It's been some years,
Mm-hmm.
but you still retain the ability. Same thing with him. That doesn't, your experiences don't change. Muscle memory, anything that we learn. This is why they talk about dealing with your trauma so you don't repeat them, so you don't carry them on with you, counseling, all this other stuff, so you can move on. So when something occurs, you can
Exactly.
recognize and say, okay, you know what? I see what my triggers are. I'm not going to let that impede me. It's the same thing.
Well, neither one of them have dealt with their traumas, apparently.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not saying that they have. I'm just simply saying
I'm telling
he
you
knows
that
what
they
are.
neither one of them have.
Okay,
Is-
but she knows what they
Which
are.
I didn't find
She can
out
always get to
until
'em.
later, which I wasn't putting together the puzzle until later on,
Yeah,
you know, before
hey, I'm with
So-
you.
before it ended.
So
At the
I
end
mean,
of the story.
I want to ask you this, and I remember posting a clip last year. This isn't during Christmas time. This isn't mother and son that spent the night at your house on Christmas time, is it? Your ex?
I'm not telling you that.
Yeah, it is. So I don't know if y'all remember that clip that I was like,
What
hold
clip?
up. The little TikTok clips that I make, and you was mentioning that we were talking about it was
They
the
were
holiday
driving me
season,
crazy.
and you said I spent my ex and his mother came over and they stayed the night, and I'm like, what? Your ex? Like what type of
Oh
program
no,
you running?
that's when he lived with me already.
So it was
But we
them
had-
too.
But we had a snowstorm, so she ended up staying for like 2 weeks.
I don't know about that part, but I know it was something tied in that you said. I said, so what? I said, what man would like spend the holidays with a woman
Well,
with his mother at the ex house?
okay. On the other side of the coin, I didn't want her to spend Christmas morning by
Ooh.
herself or
Oh.
Christmas Eve by herself. She didn't have it. She doesn't have anybody. So
Okay.
me in my family roots, how I was
Mhm.
brought up is you respect your elders, you take care of your elders, you know. So I extended that.
No.
Well, we talked about it, but you
You
know.
know, that great for you, but that was one of the things that I remember. That's why I'm saying, pay attention to the clips that I post. You never know when it's gonna come back up.
Well, don't
That's
put no
why.
clips of this out there.
That's why I remembered it, because you had brought it up. You was like, we was talking about the holidays, and you was like, yeah, I just spent the holidays, my ex and his mother, and I'm like, what? Like, what man's gonna spend the night with a woman and have his mother there? So all the shit kind of tying in. The mother probably said, "Oh, you can't go over there unless I'm there with you." It's not going to be any
No,
hanky
he
panky.
moved in.
I'm messing with you now.
We were doing hanky panky anyway because we were upstairs and I let her take our
Okay.
bedroom. The
I'm
upstairs
messing
of
with
my
you on
house
that
is
part.
like the master suite.
Uh,
But yeah, he was living with me way before that.
and we're not trying to pick on you, Anita. I mean, if it was other women out here.
This is part of the topic. I'm sure I'm not the
Yeah.
only woman in the world that's gone through this.
True.
It's part of the topic
Oh,
that
yeah.
that mother
Yeah, I
made
was gonna
him feel like, and he even said, I feel like, I come home from work. She wants to talk my ear off. She wants to watch a movie with me. She's cooking me dinner. And
see, he need to get off the
then
nipple, whatever. I'm working all day. I'm about to watch no fucking movie with you, whatever. Like, leave me the hell alone, whatever. I'm sorry. Help me this out. Well, I already know me, but that's not the dynamics that I would have with my mother. But it was like, yeah.
But when a mom is lonely and she don't
VGS calls
have,
this the most.
huh? What?
No, go ahead.
I said, I guess
go ahead and say
when
what you were going
a
to say.
mother isn't dating, doesn't have a very good social life, maybe she doesn't want to leave the house because she doesn't feel like she looks good or feels good because she has medical issues, loneliness, depression, anxiety, maybe agoraphobia sets in, and she's the only one he has. So yeah, when he'd go over there for, maybe a weekend and fix some stuff, and he'd come back home and I want my boyfriend back, So I'm
Yes.
in the same
And
routine
this is
as
why I
his
always
mom
talk
was
about my
in.
But this is why I always talk about
And
my
it was
mother.
crazy, and it wasn't like that until the last 2 months of our relationship. The 2 months before we
I'm gonna
broke
say
up.
something that might come across as a little bit of a surprise to you. It has always been like that. You just didn't pay attention to it until it hit rock bottom. And I'm gonna say this. I'll say that to say this. My mother had 11 kids. One, my sister, younger sister, just passed back in August. So now there's 10 of us. She always had a set of friends that she would go over the house, talk to, and play cards with. It wasn't until my mother got to be into her mid to late 70s where most of her friends had passed. She never imposed upon any of her children, particularly her sons, to come check on her, to do anything. We did it because we were raised to be good sons. So that much, and I'll say this tongue in cheek, we owe to her because we realized she didn't get around as much. My mother walked this city religiously. Now, when I say religiously, I'm talking religiously. You will ask people about my mother, they will tell you two things. One, she loved her Pepsi. Two, she would walk anywhere. And I mean anywhere. It was to the point where we had to sit her down and say, look, you can't do this anymore, because you're too old and you're gonna fall, you're gonna get hurt, and nobody's gonna know where the hell you are. It would terrify us at times when we would go by the house and she wasn't there. We was like, okay, where the hell is she at? Because she doesn't have very many friends. She only had one friend who died a little bit before she did. So she didn't get out like that. At least we didn't think. And then it was just like, okay, we would call each other. Have you seen our mother? Have you seen? Because we didn't call her our mother. We called her by a different name. Have you seen her? No. Well, no, she's here. We dropped her off. Oh, she's good. Okay. But when I would ride my bike down to the falls, and when I go rollerblade, she's a half a mile out the way. I would stop by and say, are you okay? You need anything? Nope, I'm good. My mother never asked us to do anything. Like I said, we checked on her. And even when she did need something, she would tell us no. But that was because our mother was fiercely independent. And it wasn't until she got to the point where after her surgery that, we had to pull back the reins on her. This is why I always talk about, people getting to their mid to late 30s and not having friends. And we see this with women all the time because women are needy. They don't know how to compromise, and some of them are willing to compromise. This is why his mother drove that wedge between you and him. It may not seem like it, but that was the goal from day one. You don't think he got to be this age and hasn't had any long-term relationships just by happenstance, do you? I've known long-haul truckers who have been married for 15, 20 years. That's because there's nobody interfering in that relationship. They always say there should only be two people in a relationship, you and the other individual, not you, him, the mother and or father, or whoever else. And until he cuts that umbilical cord, figuratively and literally, he's always going to have a problem.
I know.
Just what?
And
My mother was never
that's
married.
and that's on them too to figure out. I'm out. I tapped out. I'm done.
Well, she doesn't need to figure anything out. She got everything she needs.
Okay,
has
that's for
everything
him
she
to
needs.
figure out.
He doesn't need to figure it out. He has everything that he needs. As
He'll
silly
get
as that
tired of
sounds,
it.
as
He'll get tired of
won't.
it again. Yeah, he will.
Want me to tell you why? Because at his age, he hasn't done anything. So, my man, one of my boys I used to work with say, an individual will change when they get tired of being the way that they are.
Right. I agree.
Is this individual older than 40 currently?
Yeah.
So let's assume that this individual
agree.
started dating at 15, whatever the situation is. He spent essentially 25 years of his life in this limbo. If he hasn't changed at 40 and he doesn't have any kids, there's a very good statistical chance that he's never going to move from where he is. And it's not that he's
Well, he don't want kids. I didn't want kids
hold
either.
Hold on. He's never progressed from where he was. And this is why David asked about the apartment. He's never progressed from where he was when he got out of college. He's still there. He's still the one that his mother depends on, whether she was married or her husband predeceased her or whatever the case is, because she doesn't have a network of friends that she can rely on. She doesn't have anybody else other than her son that she can call. That, to me, that's an adult that failed to launch into adulthood. No friends, nobody else that she can call other than her son. And she's not at least 75 years old. The information is there. All you have to do is read it.
And you said something powerful, and the phrase goes like that: you only change when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's when most people change, when they hit rock bottom and they have nowhere else to turn. So he's still, as long as she's around, she still got that rope on him. And right now, he's not going to venture off into anything that he doesn't know, because he done got older. He knows what he's going to get out of his mother. And as you get older, you want less hassle. So I think, as someone said, you got out good. You escaped it, because it probably, the more deeper y'all have gotten your relationship, the more expectations she probably would have had. Like, damn, he actually went through this. Now I got to try to do this. Like I heard you just say a few minutes ago, like he would go there and be there for the whole weekend. Like, damn, who gets that luxury? To go help out. I mean, and she only lived 15 minutes away the whole weekend?
Well, for us, it worked like that because it's easier, because he's a morning person. It's easier for him to get up at 7:30 and be where he's got to be already at her house to get things done.
And this was on his days off?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see that? Yeah.
I mean, not every weekend, or, maybe it was, a night here during the week after work, or a night during the week when he didn't work the next day, whatever. I just used the weekend for an example.
Know how you'd have put it off? If you'd have been busy doing you that whole time, and you never would have paid no attention to it, then his ass would have been like, "Yeah, I didn't hear from you. Well, you was with your mother. You was with your mother the whole time. Why would I interrupt that?"
Right.
Then his ass would have started thinking like, shit, okay, I don't need to be over here like that because she ain't giving a damn about me going over there. Sometimes you got to change up the game a little bit.
Oh
If you
yeah, I
would,
did. I'm like, okay. And he'll be calling me, text me, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm about to go to sleep. I'm like, okay, whatever. I gotta do this and this and this tomorrow. It's a long day.
you would have been
Okay.
like, handle it. Go ahead, handle it. Handle it. This is what I got on my
Yeah.
plate. I'm going here. I'm going there. And all your stuff would have been fun activity. And he would have been sitting around like, damn, I'm sitting around with my freaking moms. She
Putting
out
his
here
thumbs up
living the
again.
world, just living her life. Sometimes you just got to do that.
He knows I ain't gonna sit around the house and all. Yeah,
Anita,
do
you
what I
was
wanna do during the
balled up in a
day.
fetal position. You was balled up in a fetal position while he was at Mom Duke's
You know
house.
what? Got this nice couch here.
Yeah, you was balled up on that
No.
couch in a fetal position, waiting for to hear that key come through the lock, and you be like, "He's home."
No, he didn't have the key to my house.
Oh, he didn't, and he had the key to his Mom Duke's house.
Yeah.
Well, that was part of the problem too.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's so people may think we just clowning or whatever the case is. It's a lot in the psyche of what was going on because he know he can always go back to Mom's house. If he had to call on you, open the door, or I'm on my way, he never had full control of the situation with you. But he knew what he could do at his mother's house.
Well, that is true. That is
Uh-huh.
true. If he wanted to stay at his mom's house and go party half the night, he knew he could do that there, but not living here.
Well, everybody's supposed to
But
have ground rules. I mean,
well, yeah.
everybody's supposed to have ground rules, but his mother realized something, and she allowed it because she understood that if she didn't, she wouldn't have access to him. You, on the other hand, aren't in the situation that his mother in, meaning that you're a fully functional, competent, and capable adult. She isn't. So she has to compromise what you didn't. And like David said, because he didn't have that control with you, he can say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go get here what I can, and I'm gonna come back here and get the rest. So he may have been piecing together a relationship that suited his needs on both ends. Now, I don't know that, we don't know that, only he can really say that one way or the other. And he may never disclose that to anybody other than himself, because we don't believe he's sexually active with his mother, but he's sexually active with somebody, we're going to assume. And he's partying
Me.
at night. Well, he's partying at night, so he's getting that fix, and every other fix he's getting, as opposed to getting all he needs from one entity, he's getting it from multiple entities. And some men do that, and that's why we always talk about, the son husband or the compromised male. The compromised male can't find most of what he needs in one person, and most people won't. It's rare that we find in an intimate relationship everything we need in one person. There's always something missing, but it's that something that's missing that doesn't destroy anything. You may want to go out on a weekend, your partner does. You say, okay, I'm gonna call my boys. That's the missing element. Now I'm complete.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Well, no, I'm just using that as an analogy to say, I may like to go out to, my boys might like to go out to a cigar bar. I don't smoke, but I'm gonna go hang out with my boys just for the camaraderie. Even though I can't stand a cigarette smoke, I'm giving up something. Okay, cool, no big deal. But I'm gonna go get everything else. It reminds me of when I was younger, and I won't say how much younger, that I used to go party on the weekends. I was in a relationship with somebody that was older than me by 12 years. That's all I'm gonna say.
I was dealing with a cougar.
I suppose you could say that. And I would go out dance with the young chicks, come back home and wear that ass out. She would say, "Oh, them young girls get you hot. You come back home." I said, "Yeah, you damn right." I said, "Yeah,
Man.
you damn right." I know even if I butter the bread, as long as I don't drop it butter side down, I'm okay. but that's what I mean. She didn't like to go out and party during the week. I did. That was a compromise. I went out, met her with my boys, danced, came back home, got my satisfaction.
Mm.
So what happens? We all do it. It's not a problem until it becomes a problem.
What's a couple comments in here? Greg said, "Did you let
Well,
him know?"
I'll say
Go
that
ahead.
he did have the key to the house until he lost it, and I got mad. And
But you
then
should have said that.
my lock was janky, and I almost broke the key in there. So
Now, I'm laughing at these comments. The first one was Greg when he said, "Did you let him know that his relationship with his mom was bothering you?" But then Nuki said, "Fathers allowed them sons with that BS. My mother didn't let my brothers get away with shit." Then she said, "Get that ass wore out." Boy boo. I don't know if you meant boy bye or whatever the case is. Why you hating, Nuki? Why you hating? Because Herb was plowing.
Yeah. Do you want a phone number? I mean, you can call and verify.
huh?
Speaking of Nuki,
Oh,
people love to challenge something I say. I don't know why. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't like the wolf. Maybe they don't like the fact that even though I'm a wolf, I'm not running with a pack. I'm leading that pack. I make sure it's safe before I allow them to come out, and then I'll devour what's in my path. I ain't scared of you, Nuki. I know you a comedian, but you know we can all yuck and laugh in this motherfucker. I got jokes too.
I'm participating. I hate it. I know.
and
I-
I'll say
I
I'm
know.
not really. I'll say I'm not really
Just make this
embarrassed
chill.
about what I went through because I know I'm not the only one in the world that has gone through a situation like
all day
I
long.
have, or
It
else
happens
this wouldn't
every
be a
day.
topic.
Yeah, it happens
So
every day.
check that box on training, learning experiences.
Hey,
Greg can't get off this thing about. He said Herb's comments are almost as good as Dave's body comment. I still keep going back to that comment when I was at the happy hour, and I used the Minister Society line. It was a woman bent over getting a drink out the vending machine. And I was young. I don't know, 24, 25. And I said, I would love, and I heard them say it on Minister Society. I said, I would love to take care of your body. And threw it out there and left it at that. We exchanged numbers. She called me the next day, and I'm like, hello? And she was like, I'm like, yo, who is this and this? She was like, oh, I'm the woman that was at the happy hour and I was at the vending machine and you said you would love to take care of my body. She said, well, shit, it's time to show and prove. Yeah. And that was that. But Greg loved that one. But that was classic. That was classic. It worked out for me. It was a good night. It was a good night.
And just so people understand, life is a perpetual learning experience. Every day you should be learning something,
Sure
whether it's
is.
about yourself, nature, or just life in general. I always tell people I don't have a degree per se, but I have a degree from the University of Earth. I'm always learning, always applying. So, even with today's topic, um, there are things that I will glean from here. I will take with me, and I'll apply it. And I have a benefit that, well, Dave, certainly Dave has it. There's absolutely no question of working with the public. And Dave, kind of is restricted when he works with the public because he works with who sends him. I deal with people from all over the world, and I see things, and I go back to my talk to my coworker, and we're just perplexed at how different cultures move, how they behave, their expectations, their family arrangements. So rarely, if ever, am I surprised by anything that happens. I'm just not. Being security, I've seen some people in dire straits. Um, the only thing I could probably say that I've never experienced in life or witnessed is somebody actually being shot or stabbed. Other than that, I've seen it all. I've seen somebody die in the job. I've seen somebody almost resuscitated. I've seen it all. And through it all, I've always managed to be able to remain calm and be level headed and think clearly. And I think sometimes that eludes us, being able to be rational even when shit around you is just breaking down. Anita's probably in that situation as well. So always learn. Never lose your head. And remember that every day you lay down is a successful day, especially if you're laying in your own bed and you have sound mind, health, mental as well, and you get up the next day and you can continue down that path. That's what I call a success. So when people ask me what success is, I tell them, I say being able to go to sleep, my own bed or wherever it is, and I'm sleeping for the night, and wake up and be able to get to do it all over again and hopefully advance my agenda.
Sound like these are some closing comments. Yeah, and it's that time to close it out.
Mm-hmm.
And and the thing is, we could put a topic out there. We don't know. I keep telling people we don't know how it's gonna go. This ain't no fake ass conversations that's scripted and people are told to say this or to say that. This is shit. This is real life. This is live and it's happening, and it's conversations that need to take place. Again, good, bad, or indifferent. Y'all might say, "Oh, they were dagging, they were double teaming," and no, we then had it was me and Herb and like 8 other women on the platform before. And when people you bring up something, we talk about it and we learn and we grow from other people's experiences.
Mhm.
So don't think that what Anita said didn't have value. It just lets you think like, damn, as a man, did I really do that? Damn, I need to maybe fall back on moms because I lost a good woman.
Mhm.
And shit, mom probably about to, sad to say, maybe ready to kick the bucket or whatever. And I lost something that was valuable to me. So it's the importance to identify situations and say, man, I need to open my eyes and see what's good and what's not good because I've done this all my life for her. Now it's time for me to have happiness. I
Yep.
need to have
Mm-hmm.
happiness. And I got a good woman on my side,
Fly the
but I
coop.
keep blowing it. I keep blowing it because mom wants me to do this and that. I can't let this person get away. So it
And
is.
even his family was like, he ain't never gonna find a better woman than you to love him. You are just like everything that a woman should be to a man. I was like, well, too late now.
You can water, but you can't make them drink.
Not my
You can lead them to
loss.
water, but you can't make them drink.
Not my loss. That's my gain.
So this is just a little microcosm of how we'll take a topic and we'll break it down. I mean, some people it may not be for you. Oh, y'all was off task. Y'all was such and such. You're looking for a little more scripted. You're looking for something that you can figure out right then and there, and we'll have you all over the damn place, really making you critically think. And some of you may not want that, but
Hmm.
it's all about just having adult conversations and understanding that it's always going to be it's all love at the end of the day, and it's all about growth and us learning from each other. No one's an expert in any of this. The people who say they're experts, a lot of times they haven't had a damn experience in their damn life. But they went to the school and they're certified and all that, but they don't have no experiences. If somebody called them out on their experiences, they couldn't say anything because they haven't lived it. But they went and did what they needed to do to get the degree and all that stuff. So again, that's just what it is. We don't know how these situations go, these scenarios or the broadcast go in. We just like having adult conversations, and I'm always stand by that. That's always going to be my agenda, and that's my closing comment.
I am going to read. I mentioned this song earlier in the broadcast, and it's called "Flowers Never Bend with the Rainfall," of course, by Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel. I'm going to read a section of it. No matter if you're born to play the king or pawn, for the line is thinly drawn between joy and sorrow. So my fantasy becomes reality, and I must be what I must be and face tomorrow. Some of us are really devoid of what we're supposed to be. That's understandable. We're searching high, we're searching low, we still don't have our identity, we still don't know what path we're going to take. Many of us don't know what success looks like, and I've already described what success looks like, but that is my success. You have to find your own brand of success and chase it. And of course, as always, growth and understanding occurs in the gray area. Godspeed. See you next time.
Rita, anything you want to close it out? Close out the show.
Close out the show. Okay, well, first of all, I'm usually the only woman on here, so I don't mind coming on here and talking about real life experiences and being vulnerable and open to discussing my experiences. I noticed there's some people on here or in the comments or on your
Oh,
page that want to act like, oh, that never happened to me. Or like Daphne said, you got played. Ha ha ha. I don't know if she meant it like that, but that's just an example. Oh, ha ha ha. You got played. And it's like, come on. We all aren't strong 100% of the time. We all been through some shit. So keep it real. Okay. And don't I'm not worried about putting on my strong mask because we're all here for a learning experience, or else it wouldn't be a topic, right? Right.
Facts.
So if you can't come on here and be real and take off your mask and be vulnerable enough to open up and discuss something that's real with without judgment, then yeah, I'm glad nobody else is on the panel. That's all I
Well,
got to say.
I'm always gonna give anybody respect that wants to be transparent and being able to share some
hmm,
of their experiences, no matter what any others thinks, whatever. That's growth, and that's showing
Hmm.
that you
yeah,
willing to move past that because you got to get it out. Some people can trap it
yep,
in and think that they moved on, but your ability to speak on the situation lets you know that you kind of a step ahead of the game that you talked about it. You survived it. And no matter what, it may seem like we were coming at you, but it was just the point of just questioning the whole situation because, like you said, Anita, somebody's going through that shit right now, and they balled up in the fetal position, and they going through it, and they're saying, "I can't stand his mother. She fucking our relationship up, whatever." But he won't cut her off. I do not like her. That's why I didn't go over there for Thanksgiving or whatever. All types of stuff is being thrown out there, but you show courage to speak on your situation, and you survived it. And now, again, he's
I
probably
survived 100% of my worst days, so I'm good.
So
Good
kudos
to
to
be
you on that.
transparent. Thank you. I'm good to be transparent. That's why I said, like, people that are in the counselor corner posts and they post some stupid shit, like they never had a life experience in their life, like a bad experience or whatever. They just put some craziness out there, like they've been strong all their life and they never went through anything. Okay, well, you're probably not that far into personal growth then.
It, and I'm gonna close it out with the
From my
counselor's
perspective.
corner comment, and we're gonna get out of here. That again, people always question, why did these posts go through? Who put these posts through? I put them through. You know why? Because I'm letting you know, not everybody is the same. People have different thoughts.
Yep.
People go through different shit. So if somebody keeps posting about certain things, that may be how they really feel. What you don't want to do is deal with somebody and you have no idea of their thought process. So what I try to do is let people know we're not all the same. People think that they have different perspectives. The one thing you can do is be knowledgeable about different perspectives because a lot of times we flock with people who have the same perspectives. You barely deal with people who push against or give you pushback on what you think or what you consider normal. Again, it's a lot of people have some of the perspectives of some of the things that some of the guys that say in the counselor's corner. I just let it roll on. If it ain't for you, you keep strolling. It's you just keep strolling, keep pushing forward. You don't let it get to you. But if it get to you, then you have to question yourself. Like you got some work to do. Like, is that post bothered you, and you're upset by it? So you have to look at yourself in the mirror, and that's that. Because I'm not about to entertain Herb and these damn cats. So we about to
That's my
get up
favorite
out of here.
cat.
I don't even know their names. I should know their names. Who is that? Shadow.
Shadow,
that cat
Shadow
name?
and Paws is upstairs. That's Lucky.
That's who?
Lucky.
Lucky. Okay. I'm not about to
Yeah,
play
Lucky's
these
probably the only
games.
one you want to see on camera. Shadow, unless I'm upstairs, then you might see Shadow and Paws. Of course, Chip is no longer with us. You know, that was my pride and joy. Man, hardest thing I ever had to do in life was put that cat down, man. It really was.
Buddy hears your voice, Herb.
Buddy!
Like, who's that?
So who is it? Buddy, Lucky, and who? Yeah. Shadow.
No, Buddy's a dog.
Oh.
Can you see
That's
Buddy?
her.
Oh no, you can't see him. There he is. Buddy, it's bedtime. He's chewing up.
Buddy.
Look.
Hey, Buddy.
There he is.
Hey,
man. He's ready for bed. He's coming to work with me tomorrow. He got to work tomorrow.
All right, good people. Whatever. Appreciate the feedback. We out of here. See y'all next time. Stay lock in on the post in the counselor's corner. No matter if it makes you mad or not, it's gonna provide growth. So listen to listen and pay attention to what other people say. Some of them actually mean it. So that's it. We out. Everybody be safe, be well, and talk to you soon. Peace.
All right, people. Y'all take care.
I'm always the last one to log